Rainy morning, my salty sisters. I just want to bring you a word of encouragement this morning, especially for those mamas who have prodigals out there. I can't tell you the unfolding of how the Lord recently has given so much to me because of other women. So, this message has two parts to it. One is about working your station. Cassie always says that we have to work our station. Wherever God has planted us and put us, we have to work that station in order to do what He needs us to do for those in need. You may not even know what's going on in a person's life and may do something incredible at that time. So, I want to tell you how one woman worked her station and made a significant difference in my life. And because of her obedience, I was prepared to deal with a battle that I did not know was about to take place. It's been several weeks ago. My sweet sister, Heather Blair, um, she sent me this lady's Karen Wheaton a message, and she said, "I want you to listen to this." And normally on my regular scheduled studying, I don't veer from that. But I felt so led to listen to that message. And in this message, Karen was talking about, planting the seed and going back and working the field and making things happen. And she talked about how that when we plant a seed, we don't understand what's going on underneath the earth. And she talked about having a prodigal daughter and how that it was 3 years of praying and fighting and worrying before that daughter came home. And she also has a book, which was great because it really encouraged me. So I want to tell you, because Heather was obedient, because Heather sent me this little video, it took me to a scripture that I had no idea that I was going to need about a month ago. And I was able to use that scripture to fight. And I want to take you to that scripture this morning. And I want to encourage you. And one of the things that Karen has said in her book is that she got so tired of people telling her, you just might as well give up. They're adults. They're going to make their own decisions. Children are going to do what they want to do. But see, there is something we can't do. And that's what I love about her. She says, yes, there's something you can. You can war and you can fight. And Karen's journey through that was just empowering about how she never gave up and she completely stayed the course. Many of us may have prodigal children in many significant ways that there could be addiction, there could be just a wayward child, there could be anything at all that's going on that has got that child or taken that child on the wrong path. And so what the scripture that she gave, Karen also said that she wrote the date in her Bible that the God had given her the scripture. And while I've read through this before, it never spoke to me ever like it has right now. And I want to take you to Jeremiah chapter 31 and verse 15. It says, thus saith the Lord, a voice is heard in Ramah. Now, Ramah says it's when Jerusalem was destroyed by the Babylonians, those taken captive were assembled in Ramah before being moved to Babylon. So Ramah here was a place. Have you ever found yourself in Ramah? Have you ever found yourself in such desperation, such anxiety, such stress that you don't know what to do? That the love for your child or another loved one that is wayward or a prodigal, how your heart breaks. And then people tell you all the time, well, there's nothing you can do. Well, I'm here to tell you, sisters, there is something you can do. You can use this to wage and fight a war like never before. And this is when we pull our bootstraps up and we put our war paint on and we are prepared to fight for our prodigals. It says this, a voice is heard in Ramah, lamentation and bitter weeping. Rachel is weeping for her children, and she refuses to be comforted for her children because they are no more. And I feel like when Karen was talking about this part here, she refuses to be comforted. You know how a lot of people will comfort you and give you strength and try to encourage you. But her idea was, when Karen talked about this, I'm not going to be comforted. I'm going to fight. I'm going to go to war. I'm going to battle about this. And then it says in verse 16, here is the beautiful part. Thus saith the Lord, restrain your voice from weeping. Are you tired of weeping, sisters? Are you tired of just the tearless nights? Or not, that you have no more tears to cry? And your eyes from tears. Restrain your voice from weeping and your eyes from tears, for your work will be rewarded, declares the Lord. Or your diligence will be rewarded, declares the Lord. And they will return from the land of the enemy. There is hope for your future, declares the Lord. And your children will return to their own territory. And I love that because they're going to return from, it says, and the land will return from the land of the enemy, and they will return from the land of the enemy. Right now, your prodigal is in the land of the enemy. And there's not a lot physically that you can do about that. The enemy is having a place of captivity, and your loved one is in that place right there where they're talking about. But God says, and they will return from the land of the enemy. There is hope for your future, declares the Lord. And the last statement, he says, and your children will return to their own territory. I want to encourage you this morning. So that night when I got a call, after I read this, because a sister sent to me something she felt led to send to me, and then I listened to it, and then I got this scripture from it. It was preparing me for a battle that I did not know was going to exist. That's why I'm telling you, sisters, work your station today and every single day. When God puts it on your heart to send somebody something, it is for a reason. Do your part. Now, for those of you who have prodigals, do not give up and do not listen to the words anymore that there's nothing you can do, because there is everything you can do in prayer, in fasting, and in war, and in battle. And the greatest battle is in the mind, the principalities of the air. We are not fighting against flesh. Your prodigal is not what you're fighting against. You're fighting against what has a hold of, or what's holding your prodigal captive. So that night, I took this, I felt so led. I went and got my Bible, and I really had war in my bedroom. I called these scriptures out to the Lord. I started praising God for what I knew that He could do. And I knew the harder that I prayed, the harder that I praised, the more glory that I was giving God, the tighter the grip of the enemy was becoming on my prodigal. And I want you to know that through a lot, this verse gave me encouragement and it gave me power. And there is nothing like reading the words from your lips out loud that the enemy hates. There's nothing about bringing the scripture into the air and calling out the mighty, powerful words of God. And I want you to be encouraged today. And I don't want you to give up. And I want you to know that there is something you can do. You can fight one of the greatest battles, especially this war. But we have to equip ourselves with the word to have that sword, that double-edged sword that's going to cut both ways. The only thing that can pierce and gut the enemy is this word. And I want you to cling to this word. And again, the scripture that you can go back to is Jeremiah chapter 31, verses 15 all the way. You can all read the whole chapter if you want. Chapter 15 all the way through 17. Let it be an encouragement to you today. And most importantly, if you don't have a prodigal, it doesn't mean you won't ever have a prodigal. But whoever you are, wherever you are today, sisters, work your station. Do what God calls you to do, even if it doesn't make sense. And He's given you a word, He's given you a scripture, He's given you a message or something to send to another sister. Do not delay and do that. Be obedient, be diligent, because that other sister that He's telling you to do that for is going to need that for a time that she did not even know was going to exist. So I want to encourage you to not give up and to know that there is something you can do, and that is pray, and that is war, and also to work your station today. And even though it's raining today, I hope you have the most fabulous, salty,